Hello, welcome to Wisdom Ways Center for Spirituality's live stream on spiritual themes. I'm Marian Diaz.
And I'm Carly Swenson.
And today we're going to be exploring the spiritual theme of peace. Wow.
It's like
it's a big one.
Yeah.
And we all, I think, desire it, need it, want it.
Yeah. Well, and it's such a strange, strange maybe isn't the right word, but there's internal and external peace as well. So there's also that to keep in mind, of that even within difficult and challenging times, there are ways to find and kind of preserve your own sense of peace, amidst chaos. And then there's also just like how to find and seek out spaces and, places that offer, that kind of external peace in its way.
Yeah.
And then obviously it gets bigger to just like global peace and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's vast, that one.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So for those of you who are familiar with the Enneagram, I'm a 9, which is the peacemaker. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of the core for me. Not kind of, it is basically in some ways the core for me in an internal way. But what I have to watch out for internal is that it's not like a sort of what I call it sometimes like a premature peace or a fake peace, like a peace that's actually like avoiding something that does need to be addressed. Because then when I address it and it's processed, whatever, worked through, then I have actual real peace.
Yes. Yeah.
Not just like, I'm going to be peaceful right now. Because then you're just like shoving everything down and not seeing
forced,
it. Yeah.
From conflict avoidance.
Yeah, of like, or it can get like, coming back to Minnesota more recently, like I just noticed it can get really just passive aggressive, and that's not it either.
Yeah, oh for sure. And that's really tricky because it's one of those where it really, I think it comes from that place of wanting to keep peace and wanting to keep things civil and moving forward or whatever, but because it's so nebulous and being passive aggressive and being kind of an undercurrent, I think that creates more conflict against actually finding healthy resolution or a shared peace that everyone kind of feels heard and valued and moving forward as a collective.
Yeah, and they're all speaking their truth, right?
Yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
we, instead of whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, as a part of a group or a team or whatever, when we're working in organizations. And I think sort of the same thing can be said, for actual like peace in terms of the world, because conflict can sort of be enforced, right?
Yeah.
In a way that
for sure.
is, usually long-term just not effective.
Yeah. Well, and it's so much easier, speaking on that broader scale, it's so much easier to spread fear and, be like, these people are trying to get your whatever.
Yep.
Which is something that I think it hits that very primal survival need to protect me, need to protect my family, even if it isn't true. And so it we can be manipulated, I think, as people to have our peace stolen, I guess.
Yeah.
When we're not in maybe like a more centered or grounded space to critically think about things or to reflect on how that, impacts us or our sort of approach to the world. It's layers and layers. But like you said,
do you have an example in there? Like I feel like there's
I'm thinking
something gestating.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about like especially what you said about being a the peacekeeper in the Enneagram. I can't remember. I took it a while ago. I don't remember my thing, but I just know me as a person. I tend to please others just because I care, and it used to be a thing where it was like I care, but it was also. That's how I found my sense of value, or that's how I felt like I deserved love, or whatever. So, even within that balance of extending for others and putting yourself out there and growing in ways, that can cause internal calm and peace for you, so that you feel like you're keeping your boundaries and stuff. But then also, allow for collaborative peace with team people or, society as a whole or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like finding that, I don't know, the level of tension for like an active piece. Like I think of active, pieces like an active thing.
Yes.
That's like in process.
Which
like
is so strange because you think of, I think of pieces like, there, we did it.
Right, we got it.
We've achieved peace.
Yeah.
Peace is here now. As opposed to
work.
that just like ongoing, momentary, like returning to a sense of peace, returning to a, like that, keep checking in on it, which is, I think, very much the reality of any form of sustainable internal or external sense of peace.
Yeah. Okay, let's start a little process here. I'm going to take a deep breath, get comfortable, settle in. So as you're settling into this time, just invite you to go to some place that you recall, some place you especially love that brings you peace. Imagine yourself, maybe it's somewhere outdoors. Maybe it's somewhere in a special place that's sacred to you. And just breathe. And notice what you see around you. And how you're feeling. What does peace in this place feel like to you? If anything arises, any thoughts or feelings, just offer them up to the space around you in peace. Just give them over in peace. While you're here in this space, think of something maybe challenging that you need to do, that you know you need to do. Recall it, feel it. Maybe you feel a little tension in your body. And just give it over to the space, give it over to peace, knowing that you will, when it's time, do what is necessary. Feel the peace in knowing your own strength, your own capacity. Feel your spirit being strengthened and energized by the space you're in. And now bring to mind just one thing, one small thing that you might do for yourself in the next few hours to bring yourself more to a place of authentic peace. Imagine yourself taking this action. Start to feel the joy and satisfaction you might feel once you've done it. Maybe a sense of pride in yourself arises. And just take a few more deep breaths. And again, enjoy and feel the space that you're in. I'll gradually invite you out as you're ready.
That was very peaceful.
You can do that like every hour. Every hour on the hour.
Just
For 5 minutes.
Yeah. I always like that when I am envisioning a place, because I, you know, as you practice something, you get better at it. And the more that I've been able to work with meditation and guided visualization, like, I can really kind of like, I'm a big water fan.
Oh, I hear you. I am too. No, I totally.
So like, you know, I can either like, I feel the beach and I can like feel the breeze, or like, you know, really allowing the sensory components, like, you know, the mist of the waves on your skin, or the scent of, you know, the ocean and the salty air, like any of that I can kind of use to help internalize that sensation, or even just kind of when I think of nature, woods, hiking, that kind of stuff, and you know, like the soft rustle of the leaves, or like the crunch of it under your feet, like any of that kind of tactile stuff. In my experience, I found has really helped to, you know, bring my body along with the sensation of peace, and not just, you know, keep it mental and whatnot. So
like an absence. I wanted it to be more, something that was a little bit active, and I was hiking and snowshoeing over the weekend a bit outside in the new snow, and it was just, it's lovely because you'll be kind of hiking along only hearing like the crunches, and I had snowshoes and the pulls, and then maybe just a couple birds, not a lot.
Or some sort of
very
twig
few
crackle.
Animals. Exactly. A few animals. But then when it's there, it's like all of a sudden everything's alive, but it's still peaceful. So it's a peaceful, peaceful peace that's alive.
It's that, like joyful peace.
Yeah. And then just imagining, something you can do for yourselves in the next few hours to know that, yes, forms of meditation, they're one way to build peace, but there are many other ways that we can.
I know for me, I could tell like my anxiety kind of kept popping up, and I was like, you need to take care of this, you need to take, and it's like, well, no, this right now in this moment, what we're doing is hanging out here. But I realized like, okay, maybe in a little bit I should head back to my office, make a to-do list. And I always feel better once I just kind of have it visually mapped out. Like, okay, this is where I am, and I can really process to like, oh, this is something I don't have to worry about for 2 weeks, you know?
Right.
Or this is something that like is very important, but you know, that's due tomorrow or whatever, you know, and actually kind of break those into like much more bite-sizable anxieties. And I know there's a huge sense of comfort that for me comes with just creating, and then when you get to cross things off, the joy of that, I'm a big fan of as well.
I'm a huge list person. And there's something about putting it outside of you.
Yes.
Right? That it's like, and that's actually been shown in terms of neuroscience, that like you put it down outside of you so you don't have to carry it around because you know it's out there and you can check your list and go through it. But then it's also helped, like for me, I do every day, like my list. So then you're also just tracking like, okay, that's done, or what's next. So it helps a lot with focus.
Well, I'm still very old school in that, like I really like having like a handwritten planner because it just, I remember things better when I write them down than when I type them in, even though I'm sure there's very convenient apps and stuff now that could remind me.
Yeah. I've gone back to that too, but yeah. And I think, when it comes to peace, there are just so many challenges, right? And so the more I think that we can like grow our skills around whatever, nonviolent communication, forms of building peace, just structures, all of these things really undergird what it means to have peace in a societal sense.
Yeah. And it is one of those tricky things because people have to be willing to do that work within themselves.
Yeah.
And recognizing that they are, an integral part of this collective of humanity, and that like not even you, but like even you, because I think it's very easy when we live in ourselves to kind of feel insignificant sometimes, and just realizing that like, no, there's such value in your being, and taking that time to even figure out what peace feels like for you, or what even just those little moments of calm, because I've certainly been in bouts of depression or anxiety where like the idea of peace or ever not feeling like this just seems absurd. And even when I get to those kind of darker places, just remembering like, okay, there are baby bits of peace. So even if my peace is watching like adorable cat videos or unlikely animal friends or whatever, like that joy that I can find, or that little bits of humor or whatever, that's its own form of peace, because it's that momentary relief from kind of the other chaos that can kind of really propel itself if you're not willing to disrupt.
Part of it is that like, I love that you went to the list making, because the piece is about like whatever, when you're surfing or like you're skiing down the big hill, the mountain, right? And like it's active, but it can be very peaceful, and you can get into flow. And
for sure.
So those things like help you build like the skills around the active engagement of it. But we also do need recovery. Like there's peace as like this time of recovery. Okay, I've done a lot, I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I need to step back and have this
and the restful peace. I think that's the thing. I think it's kind of like love, where it's one of those where everyone knows what it means and they use it all the time, but it also has such immense variation and immense scale that you really have to kind of dig into how you're applying it and where.
Good. Well, thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed our time together, and this provided you some food for thought.
Or maybe some peace.
And some peace.
Have any additional recommendations for spiritual topics you'd like us to discuss, let us know. Please share it in the comments.